Hey YouTube family, how's it going? I hope everything is well over there where you guys are at. I would like to share with you a dream that I had some time ago and which it really meant a lot to me. And I hope you guys get something from it as I share. So guys, just stay tuned, all right? I was inside this gaming place where they had a lot of arcades. And across from me, there were two ladies admiring me. They were just staring at me. And I can see that they were conversating amongst themselves about me. So I paid no attention to them. In front of me was a game table. I don't know exactly what board game was in front of me. And this game table just simply collapsed. I don't know how that even happened. It just fell, like, it just broke apart right before me. There was an associate nearby, and I went to go tell him what happened, and he was kind of upset that it did. He wasn't really furious about it, but he was like, he wasn't pleased that this table fell. The clothes that I had on fell as well. It just came right off. I don't know how that even happened. And really it was my upper body that was showing. And then I was handed this robe. This robe had a mixture of colors. It was like blue and then red mixing with purple. But the purple kind of stood out the most, like a dark purple. Similar to this picture as far as the colors, but just a little bit darker, but not the same texture or design. So as I was wrapping this robe around my waist, it was like I was giving these ladies a show, because they was looking at my body, they was looking at what I was doing, and it's kind of like I was like nearly flexing, showing out my arms and chest, whatever, while I was wrapping this robe around me. No, I decided to approach these ladies that were sitting on the bench. And as I approached them, they were still eyeing me, of course. And they happened to ask me about my ethnicity, my background, and what I'm mixed with and stuff like that. So suddenly the scene changed. We were all walking on this grassland forest field, which was quite dark, but probably just enough light just to see around me. And I was talking to them about my ethnicity, explaining to them my ethnical mixture and background on both sides of my parents. And one of the ladies fell ahead of me after we were crossing this line that was clearly enough to see that there was dirt going right across from us. The line looked like it was done by an operating machine, and this grassland was divided as far as I could see. So I quickly rushed over there to lift this woman up. And we were all with each other, but it was separate, like a frontline formation. A battalion full of women. I was the only guy in that group. I recognized that we were all wearing this World War II type Vietnam gear and helmets, carrying a submachine gun. The way that I lifted this woman up, it wasn't just by a one hand lifting, but it was like more me like grabbing her. It wasn't like a hug, but it was me like coming behind her, like standing her up on her feet gently. And what caught my attention was this plane that was in the sky. It was enormous. The plane that was in the air that was going across the skies looked as if it was already being destroyed. As it was crossing the skies, I took out my submachine gun and started shooting at it. Surprisingly, every time I fired my weapon, I could clearly see the bullets exiting out of the muzzle. And it looked like a bullet time effect. It wasn't in slow motion, but the scene looked just like this. As the plane almost entered the atmosphere, I quickly aimed to the right because that's where it was going. And it's like something going this way, but real slowly. And so I want them shooting in that direction so my bullets can at least match it with the plane and at least do more damage to it. Now, as we were walking in that direction, moving forward, there were more planes going across the skies. And all of this was at nighttime. The whole thing was at nighttime. And apparently I was still the only one shooting at these planes. These planes were like already damaged about to fall, so I was just increasing more damage to them. But I realized that I was the only one shooting. None of the women in the battalion was shooting except me. And then I seen this guy on this military crop duster plane. And he was actually sitting on the propellers shooting directly at us. And the same way that my bullets left out of my muzzle and I can see the bullet effect is the same way I can see his coming directly at us. So I was yelling at these ladies to shoot back, to kill them. And no one didn't do anything. I was telling them to get out the way because bullets was just flying around. They kept walking as if nothing ever happened. And I was the only one just doing what I need to do to keep my people surviving, so that no one don't get hurt. And the only thing they did was just look at me. The ladies just looked at me like a quick glance, and then they kept moving forward. Everybody was fully equipped. We all had the same armor. We all had a helmet. We all were strapped with guns, fully protected. But I was the only one doing some damage, or at least trying to kill this guy, even with the other planes. They didn't do nothing but just kept walking. What I can see from this guy's bullets is that once it hit the ground, it actually caused an explosion. Not big enough to explode an entire battalion, but if one person get hit with those bullets, that individual will be blown to pieces. And so I seen 3 bullets coming directly at me. One was aiming at my head, the other 2 was headed to the left, and then the other one was on the right. And I'm like, oh, so I quickly got on the ground, moving around like a snake rolling over, and I was still firing at this guy, hoping that my bullet could just penetrate him. This guy that was on the aircraft did not stop at all. He did what he can to just kill us. And it was just on my heart to keep my people alive, to keep these ladies safe, but did no one listen to me. I kept yelling at them to get out the way, to fire back, and yet they kept moving forward and not listen to anything that I had to say. So I kept firing at this guy, hoping that I can get him because he was close enough. And I got him right on the left side of his abdomen. And his entire flesh was just opened up, like it just burst open. Blood was just spilling out. It was a very gruesome scene. And I just kept shooting to make sure that he was dead. And soon he landed right by us. As he landed, the sky was full of light, like it was already morning. Now this guy was so close enough that I can actually aim and shoot him without even missing. Now we all stood in a military formation where we was basically next to each other. And there were 2 other groups that was ahead of us as well. They were kind of branched off into a distance away. And the guy that was on the plane, I actually shot him a few times. And I heard an inner voice saying, don't do that, or just put away the gun. And so I stopped doing it. And he said that this was a test. And I noticed that when I shot him, it was like a paintball gun. And then apparently my gun was a test gun. And so I put away my weapon, and then I realized that since all of this was a test, we just stood at attention. And I realized that the guy that was on the plane, it was like he was in a high prestige, maybe I don't know, captain, major, or lieutenant, I don't know, but he was at a high prestige than all of us. And it felt like I was actually stood out the most because I actually done something in my battalion. And I was taking in the entire scene, just viewing everything. The fake blood that was on this guy's jacket, the plane, the unit that I was in with the women, and 2 other groups there, 2 other units there, and it was like they was holding up this wooden sign, and it looked like it had some initials on there or some writing, I'm not too sure. And as I seen these signs, I happened to just walk over there, and that was the end of the dream.